I'm from Texas. That's not chili.
That's not chili. That's not chili. I'm from California, and I tasted it, and I also thought it was not chili. It's an acquired taste. So welcome to Cincinnati. We got other goodies for you too. Just wait. People can't drive in the rain. So just wait. I don't know if I need this. You all can hear me fine? Great. I don't know if we need this, but someone else needs it. They can use it. Hi, I am Petra Reinhardt, and I'm the AI and Digital Products Leader here at Crossroads. And we are so excited to share some of the AI we've been working with over the last about a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years. And although there are tons of AI products out there, and we are not going to give you like the full nuts and bolts, hopefully we can give you a little taste of the iceberg. And so we're just going to share what we have for you, and we want to open it up for questions at the end. So write down any questions you have as we're going along, and we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A, and that's really what we want to get to. So we're not going to go too far, but welcome. This talk is called When Heather Talks Back. And the overview of this talk is all about how we were able to utilize our insights data in order to help our ministries speak to people we otherwise couldn't speak to before. And so I know that we have a lot of research that we use, and not everyone knows how to apply the research. And so this talk is about how we practically utilize the data and the insights that we received, and we were able to speak to the people. So the TLDR, what are we going to learn in this talk? We're going to talk to you about a thing called personas and how they were created. We're going to tell you how we were able to take those personas and then apply them to our branding in a ministry that we have here. How we brought these personas to life and how they became AI agents and how we built AI agents with this information for marketing. And we're going to talk about how the conversations that we were able to have with this research, so there's a part we're going to see where we can start to interact back and forth with our research data, and we're going to take it from that level, we're going to push it into building AI teams around you, and that is called workflows. This is going to be a fun talk today. Like I said, write down your questions, and we are going to have some fun answering them. But first, because you are not just at a tech conference, you are at a church conference, I'm going to give you Bible. Are you okay with that? Okay, great. Okay, great. So, there's a story in the Bible. You may or may not have heard of it. It's from Luke 12:16 through 21. And I'm not going to read that to you verbatim because I'm not going to bore you to death. I'm going to tell you the gist of it, which is there's this guy who's super rich. He's killing it. He's making money. He's got deep pockets, okay? And he's like, what should I do with all this money? I'm going to go and get a bigger investment. I'm going to make a bigger bank account. And God says, no, that's wrong. You're evil. What you should have actually done was taken the excess of your wealth and spread it. And that's the heart of everything we have. So that wealth to us is Jesus. So we have a lot of knowledge. And with AI, we are gaining more and more knowledge about the people who we serve. And we can take that and we can have a temptation to hoard that information. But I just want to ground everyone with, we're using our tools to do what? Get people to Jesus, because we are a church. Okay. Now, before we go into more of the work that I was able to do with Crossroads Women, I'm going to bring up Emily, and she's going to tell you what a persona is. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, everybody. I'm a researcher at the team at Crossroads Church, which is where you're at right now. And so first I'm going to introduce you. What is a persona? Raise your hand in here if you've heard of personas before. Okay, so we have some context. It's a fictional person. They're made up based on data to represent your ideal or target audience. So for us at our church, our mission is connecting seekers to a community of growing Christ followers who are changing the world. So our big target is seekers. But within that target, you're really wanting to get at the bullseye. And so we have, beyond seekers, we have a specific, more narrow audience of people that we're trying to reach, and we believe that if we reach them, we will reach the people around them as well. So how do you create a persona? It's really about collecting data about them, all kinds of data. This is just like a list of options of being like their demographics, their psychographics. It's like learning about what they want in life. What are their problems they're trying to solve in life? What are their struggles? What are their hopes? What are their values? What are their attitudes, their behaviors, their preferences? Learning about all these different aspects of who you're trying to reach. And then it's taking those and you're creating a fictional person out of that data set. Like the average across that data for that audience, you're creating a persona out of that. Why do this? Why create a persona? Is they can help teams to understand who they're speaking to and ground it in data. So I think like at our church, we had an idea of people who we were speaking for, but we had different people in the room and different people had a different idea of who that was. So really creating these personas has helped us to get aligned on who we're trying to reach. It also helps you to create targeted content and messaging, and it helps you to create experiences that are tailored to specific audiences that you're trying to reach. So our process for this, and your process, like if you do this, it could look different than this, but the way that we went about it is, like I said, our target is seekers. These are people who are open to learning about God, but they're not quite sure what they believe about Jesus yet. And what we did was we did surveying. We did 2 large national surveys of people across the United States to learn all about them. And then we narrowed it down and we did some analysis, some clustering analysis to look at different segments, to identify different segments of seekers that have similar traits, and to look at how they perceived our church and the experiences of church and their beliefs. So we could group them together. And you don't have to do surveys, there's many approaches. You can do interviewing, you can do focus groups, you can do ethnographies. It's like there are many different approaches out there to how we can gather this information. We just chose to do surveying for this. So we narrowed it down, and so we have 3 main segments of seekers that we identified, and then we had a series of workshops where we brought together people across our ministries. We presented the data on these different segments, and we had them turn that data into fictional people. So giving the people names, giving them characteristics, identifying their different principles grounded in the data, creating narratives for what their lives were like based on the data, and then visuals for them. And then once we had those, we got to sit down with our leadership, and everybody sat at a table, and we were deciding, okay, we have all of these different groups of seekers that we know about. Who do we want to be the bullseye of our target? Who are we trying to reach? So the 3 different segments that we identified were curious caregivers, wary wanderers, and ambivalent adventurers. And so a curious caregiver, they're 25 to 44-year-old seekers, and they have children. And they're curious if God exists and mostly open to hearing from a church. Being a parent is the most important part of their lives, and there's a lot more behind that too, but that's pretty high level why they're called curious caregivers. Over here you see we have 6 different personas. We have 3 males, we have 3 females. The men are Michael, Eli, and Nike, and if you look at the first letter of their names, it spells men. To help us to remember, we try to keep things simple. For the females, we have Heather, we have Erica, and we have Riley. First letters spell her for the females. Gotta help ourselves out. But you can see Michael and Heather are curious caregivers. You have Eli and Erica, and they are wary wanderers. And they do not have kids, and they're more apprehensive about church. They're more worried about people being judgmental at churches. And then you have our ambivalent adventurers, which are our 18 to 24-year-old seekers, and that's Nike and Riley. So today we're going to focus in on Heather, our persona, who is a curious caregiver. And we are going to, you can go to the next slide.
Sorry,
You're going to hear from Heather now based on an AI agent created to represent Heather.
What a week. Thank God it's Saturday. I've been running non-stop. Work, kids' activities, trying to keep up with everything. Life feels so hectic sometimes. Between trying to make ends meet, homework help, cooking meals, and then the laundry. You know, being a single mom isn't easy, but honestly, it's worth it. My kids are my joy. They're my purpose. I'm proud of them. Later today, we're headed to the zoo for my oldest birthday party. I love giving them new experiences and fun memories. But he's been acting out a little lately, so fingers crossed he behaves. Sometime today, I'll squeeze in some errands. Probably Target. Gotta grab groceries and clothes for my daughter. She's growing like a weed. Hopefully, I can get home in time to make dinner. My boyfriend's been living with us. He'll pitch in while I tackle dinner and dishes. Evenings are our downtime. I usually put on a Disney movie for the kids. After they're in bed, we'll watch something light on TV. I'll scroll Facebook, catch up with friends, maybe share a few photos of the kids. At the end of the day, I just hope I'm doing what's best for my family.
So she's like AI generated based on a picture. You can kind of tell because I feel like she smiles a little bit too much, but she's giving the narrative that we created based on the data. So everything she says, there's like a data and a number behind her narrative. And you can see over here some of her principles that we came up with around family first, being concerned about being a good parent, a good mom, a good wife, being satisfied. She's very satisfied with her life, but also is the most stressed of the different personas. She's seeking mental and physical health and happiness and more financial stability. She plugs in to unwind. That's kind of like escaping into Facebook, social media, TV, country music, reading, crafting. Values authenticity, and has given up on church but not on God. So she's open to God. She's one of the most open to church of any of the personas that we have. And she wants answers and peace in her life, but she's not sure what to believe or how God could allow so much suffering in the world. Those are some of the questions she's wrestling with, or even what the benefit of church is. But she does value faith and she values authenticity. So these are just some principles and qualities about her. And so next, Petra's gonna come back up and she's gonna talk about how the women, our women's ministry, use this persona Heather.
Okay, so we promised you some AI, some tech, and we're gonna give it to you. So, you guys are all in tech, right? And a lot of times we're doing this work, but our people who are working in our churches, they don't know how to utilize it. So they go, oh, thank you so much for all that information. I have no idea how that's gonna apply in my daily job. How am I gonna use it? So a problem that we have, we don't know how to define ourselves and we don't know how to speak with our audience. So part of my work last year was sitting with a team that was developing a ministry around women. And at that time, we were just kind of guessing, going off of our hunches, going off of our basic branding, and we got a branding package back. And as the women looked at the branding package, we felt like, well, there's something missing. We don't really know how this is reflecting us. We don't feel that it is as reflective of us. And so, but we don't know how to say that back to the design team. We don't even know where to start. We don't know how to describe who we are, all these things, right? So they just didn't know what they do when they get a brand package, how they can speak back to the people who gave it to them, and then how we can use that information to reach the right audience. So they just didn't know. So the solution that I came up with, what I did is I went into ChatGPT, one of my favorite tools, and we did a branding exercise. So I designed a branding exercise for a group of women where we were able to ask questions about who we are, kind of describe what our pain points were, talk about what drove us, all the passions that we have, and how that influenced the brand that we were currently creating. And then we were able to give that back to our design team, express this back to the design team. And then with that, they gave us back a new brand package. And so essentially, we kind of fleshed out who we are, and then we said, all right, well, now that we have defined more about who we are and what we look like, we don't know how that applies to the women who we're trying to minister to. And that is where the persona came in. So with the combination of the research, knowing who we needed to talk to, and then knowing who we were able to kind of speak to the pain points of the women that we had. And so you can kind of get an idea here. Apologize, it's a little blurry, but we had something called an Ignite conference, which is our women's summer conference. And so in our first year, this was kind of the design that we got back. And after just talking to our design team and then learning more about who we are and the things that we wanted, you can look here and see how that design developed into the next year. You see more of those bright colors, that vibrancy. We really wanted to describe that we were diverse women who were ignited on fire for God. right? So they came up with this matchbox for us, and we loved it. So the team went from, oh, we don't know if this describes us, to we really see ourselves reflected in the brand now, and you can see that change. And it's the same thing if we advance to the next one. You can kind of see that with our symbology. So this was the logo that we were originally given, and then you can see how this logo developed because this team was able to utilize AI to help them describe more of what their needs and wants were. And it helped us work together. So that stopped that silo feeling where we were like, okay, this is us. We don't know how to work with our design team. This helped us work with our design team. The design team came back, gave us a product that we were more happy with. So this is just lightly touching on the branding package. Now we're gonna take it a step further. So this was our brand, and we needed to know how to interact with it. And for that, I'm gonna bring up Tiffany. This is Tiffany.
Hi, my name is Tiffany. So I am here at Crossroads as well, and I am a researcher on the insights team. So I'm going to stand over here because I actually want to do a demo for you guys today, the tool I'll be speaking about. So yeah, we're going to take these personas to the next level using a tool called Vurvey. Has anyone ever heard of Vurvey? All right, perfect. Well, you're going to learn about that. So Vurvey is an AI-powered platform that brings personas to life. So we heard the persona being created, and we can use those personas as like a description to kind of explain to people. But now with something like a Vurvey, this AI tool, we're actually able to build what we call an agent around it, and then make that agent actually interactive in real time. So now I can engage with the agent, ask it questions, give it ideas, and they give me feedback. So it allows us to have an interactive persona. It actually allows us to introduce now workflows, and workflows I think are really cool because it gives us like AI generated roles that you may not have inside of your ministry or on your team. You get access to that, and it just really can test those ideas, refine messaging, and just create resources a little bit faster and just having an impact on your ministry. So yeah, so the whole idea is we want to go from ideas to impact. We want to be able to create things that are actually actionable to be able to use. So Vurvey is just a tool that helps us test some of those ideas, explore some concepts. It lets us preview outreach messages. If you have a message you're thinking how it just resonate with who I'm trying to reach, or you just don't have any idea at all, kind of helps you preview those things or create resources like small group guides, maybe event materials, and just some communication tools. Another thing that it can do is help you adapt quickly with updated messaging. So you have a persona that you've created, but what about the changing trends? What about the times that are changing? What about things that are coming out? It helps you now sit with those changing trends and say, hey, what would this look like now, today, as opposed to when I did it 6 months ago? So Vurvey has a lot of features in it, but for time purposes today, we're gonna show you what an agent is, show you what a workflow is, because I think those are really helpful. So a Vurvey agent, like I mentioned before, you can think of a Vurvey agent, it's kind of like a ministry teammate that you may not have already. A persona or expert voice you can engage with at any time. And since we've kind of focused in on Heather, I just wanted to demo today and like take that a step further. We've already seen how she's been used to help focus in on the women's brand. So today we're going to ask her a few questions about creating an event for us. Okay, so I'm going to go actually into the tool here. Hopefully. So this is a look inside of Vurvey. Like I said, it has several features that you can get in and play around with. But today we want to focus on our agents. We have several agents, as Emily mentioned before. We have Riley, Nike, Erica, Eli, but we're gonna focus on Heather today. So once you go into the agent, you have a description of her, which we've already heard. So once you get there, you are able to pretty much ask her anything. So I put in a prompt, hey Heather, we're thinking of putting on a women's event soon. What kind of event would you be most interested in attending, and what would make it feel welcoming? And then she replies, and she better already. This is what she gives me. And so I know that texts are kind of tiny to read, so we're gonna hop back over so you can just hear it.
Oh, for a Crossroads women's event? Honestly, as a busy mom, I'd love something that doesn't require camping. Woman camp sounds amazing from what I've heard, but with my crazy schedule and the kids, it's hard to get away overnight. I'd really appreciate something that fits into my hectic life. Maybe a Saturday morning event where I could connect with other women without having to find overnight childcare. Something casual but meaningful, where I could actually talk to people and make some real connections. I'd be drawn to events focused on real-life topics that matter to me, like parenting challenges, managing stress, finding purpose beyond just being mom, or even practical stuff like finances. Nothing too preachy, just authentic conversations with other women who get what daily life is really like. The timing would need to work with my schedule. Maybe offering childcare would be amazing, so I wouldn't have to stress about that. And honestly, I'd probably check it out online first before actually going in person, especially if I didn't know anyone else going. What matters most is that it feels welcoming and real, not like I have to pretend to have it all together when I walk in the door.
Okay, Petra, can we go back to the computer screen? Okay, so that is what she sent via text. I didn't read it all, you kind of heard it audibly, but that's just kind of the type of feedback that you can get, and you can also do any follow-up questions. So if you have anything, like what time would the event be? What would make you invite someone? You're also able to pose a follow-up question here. Does anybody have any questions you're curious about it? Yeah.
I noticed you have a ton of personas on there, which is awesome. Clearly, you have to understand your constituents to be able to create those personas. How much did you have to add to that understanding to make this work? Was it a lot of data about what the persona should be, or did the AI also help you flesh those out in more detail?
Well, right now, so you have a source that you can add, and the only source that we have here is our persona, the personas that Emily spoke about later. So the surveys that were conducted, and that feedback were put in a source, and that's what was fed. So
Yeah, so when we were creating them, so we had the data from the surveys that we're able to just put in there to create it, but we were able to tell AI to also process that data too when creating the instructions for how the agent Heather would respond to us. So a little bit of it.
and at the end also, if you wanna come up, play around with this agent or any other one and just pose questions to it, feel free.
Can you ask multiple personas? So like you have the 3 women ones, can you ask them all that same question and get a curated response?
Yes, yes, you can ask them all, and then you can also save their response as a data set and move into what we'll now move into, show you how that can be very effective in pulling them all into one workflow. Okay.